What do scratched negatives, weathered film grain, and that slight camera shake mean to you? For most of photography's history, they were accidents, unavoidable byproducts of a medium still figuring itself out. But in the digital age, these artifacts are no longer evidence of existence, but proof of intentions. We look at a photo and don't ask if it's real anymore. We ask if it feels like what we expect reality to feel like. Roland Barthes called this having been there, a moment frozen. The real breakthrough came when platforms began to automate this process, not just with filters, but through algorithms that could detect what we expect a real moment to look like. The result? A manufactured authenticity where even the mistakes are chosen from a menu of approved deviations. We've built systems that simulate spontaneity at scale and now treat them as if they're confessing something profound. But Barthes, this is how it was, has become this is how we want to believe it was. And
early computers like ENIAC were groundbreaking not just for their scale, but for their programmability, a radical shift from fixed function machines.
Let's rewind to a time when digital perfection was still new and suspicious, like an overly confident salesperson at a tech expo. If you've ever heard of MIDI sequencing, you're already familiar with the earliest algorithms designed not just to correct imperfection, but to replicate it. Music producers used these systems to add random delays or subtle pitch waivers so that machines could pretend they were human. It was called humanization, a charmingly oxymorphic term for what is essentially, and so the demand for imperfection becomes its own commodity. On social media, bots now use deliberate grammatical errors and slang to avoid sounding mechanical. Their inhumanity masked by what feels like youthful informality or regional authenticity. These are not bugs, but features, carefully designed flaws that pass algorithmic gatekeepers and human scrutiny alike. We've outsourced the art of appearing real to machines who have learned, perhaps better than we ever could, how to lie with charm.
Mom, look! Is this the future of politics? This AI-generated ad depicting Los Angeles mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt as Batman coming to save Los Angeles from its current mayor, his opponent Karen Bass, and other state politicians who appear in the video to mock residents begging for change.
My children aren't safe.
The ad, reposted by Pratt, was first posted to X by AI filmmaker Charlie Curran. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush calling...
We once thought of authenticity as a mark of integrity, something earned, not produced. But in this new landscape, it's bought and sold like any other commodity. political ads drenched in false sincerity. Brand campaigns built on simulated vulnerability. The deeper we dig, the more we find these signs of realness are just another layer in the algorithmic stack. They don't authenticate truth, they market trust. In the 1960s, critics warned that computers would distort truth and erode human judgment. They were told they were paranoid. Now, we live in a world where deepfakes can be produced with the click of a button and sold to anyone willing to pay. The tools once dismissed as dystopian fantasies are now mainstream instruments, shaping how we see leaders, lovers, and lies. The arms race between detection and generation is accelerating, but the real casualty isn't the technology. It's our trust in any signal of authenticity at all. Every new defense spawns a more sophisticated evasion, turning truth into an inside joke for those who pay to play. What we once took as proof, tone, expression, consistency, can now be faked so well it loses meaning entirely.
This scientific visualization transports us into the elusive, the ethereal, the impossible.
Neil Postman once warned that television wasn't just a medium, it was an epistemology, a way of knowing built into its very frame. He saw how TV turned serious discourse into performance and substance into spectacle. Now imagine replacing the television screen with something even more insidious, algorithms trained to simulate human authenticities. If we can no longer tell whether a voice is real or generated, where does truth go? We are not just consuming content anymore. We're being fed a curated sense of reality, expression. What happens when we lose that final frontier, the certainty of our own memories? If a machine can convincingly recreate the past, then history becomes not just rewritten, but reimagined. Timothy. Morton asks whether imagination itself is anything more than an algorithm. We've trained ourselves to execute without questions. The question isn't just about fakery anymore. It's about identity. And if the self is no longer guaranteed by memory, what kind of person are we?